The Golden State Warriors are back on the court, and even though it's just preseason, fans got a real glimpse of what this new chapter might look like. The first preseason matchup against the Lakers may not have featured full-strength rosters from either side, but it delivered something much more important for Warriors fans. Effort, pace, and a taste of that hungry mindset the team is going to need to compete this season. Now, let's be clear, the Lakers rested several key names. LeBron James wasn't out there. Neither were Marcus Smart or Luka Doncic. And the Warriors were also missing names like Seth Curry and DeAnthony Melton. So this wasn't about seeing the finished product. It was about getting a read on energy, chemistry, and which players are already playing like they've got something to prove. And from the jump, the Warriors came out with a level of urgency that's rare to see in October. What immediately stood out was the tempo. This is the oldest team in the league. The average age of the starting lineup was around 34, which puts them 5 full years ahead of the next oldest unit. But you wouldn't know it by watching how they moved. The pace was relentless. Quick outlets, fast breaks, non-stop movement. It looked more like a team trying to send a message than one easing into the preseason. And that's exactly what fans should want. We've seen this before. Remember how Golden State had to treat every game like a playoff game during the final stretch of last season? That same urgency was on display. And if they want to avoid having to dig themselves out of a hole again, it starts now. Set the tone early. That's how you survive in a brutal Western Conference. The energy isn't just for the fans or even the other teams. It's for the guys on the edge of the roster, the players fighting to secure a role. If you're a young player or a vet on a non-guaranteed deal, seeing the starters hustle like it's a Game 7 sends a clear message. This is the standard. And while it's easy to say it's just preseason, that kind of mindset can snowball into something powerful. You could see it in how Jimmy Butler attacked the pace. Every time the Lakers scored, he didn't wait around, grabbed the ball, got it inbounds, and sprinted up the floor. That's not common in a preseason opener. That's leadership by example. Some might call it overzealous, but it's exactly what this team needs if they're serious about contending. It also puts pressure on the rest of the roster, especially the guys on guaranteed contracts who maybe didn't bring that same intensity. Because when someone like Pat Spencer steps on the floor and plays with that kind of effort, you take notice. And let's talk about Spencer for a second. He looked like a guy who belongs, not just physically, but mentally. He didn't just hustle. He played smart basketball. His awareness, movement without the ball, and hustle on defense stood out. If we're being honest, the man looked more like a starting pitcher for the Yankees with that mustache than a basketball player. But on the court, he earned real consideration. The kind of consideration that could put pressure on a player like Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy did have a few decent looks, and he stayed in rhythm with the offense, but when you're in a battle for a rotation spot and someone else is doing more with less, it raises real questions. Spencer's hunger was evident. He knows what's at stake, and if he keeps this level of intensity, it's going to be hard to justify giving minutes to someone who's just cruising through the preseason on name recognition. There's also that delicate balance that coaches will have to navigate. Do you go with the established guy who has a track record? Or do you ride with the player who's flat out earning it in camp and preseason? Because one thing is certain, there are only so many roster spots. Someone's going to get cut or traded. And performances like this start to shape those decisions. Another player who sparked interest was Jonathan Kuminga. Now, he did have some solid moments. There were flashes of what makes him such an intriguing talent. Athleticism, versatility, and that natural feel for getting to the basket. But it didn't feel like a major leap from what we saw last May. There wasn't a sense that he's taken that next step. And if he's going to be a key part of this team moving forward, that growth has to be visible. It's preseason, sure, but this is also the time where coaches are watching closely for those signs. On a more positive note, one of the most encouraging things from the game was the Warriors' ball movement. This looked like vintage Golden State at times. Multiple passes, everyone touching the ball, constant off-ball screens. It was beautiful to watch. At one point, there were 11 passes before shot. That's the kind of unselfish, read-and-react offense that wore down opponents during their championship years. It forces defenses to work on every possession, and after a few minutes of that, cracks start to show. We saw it clearly. The Warriors went from being up by 3 to up by 15 in just 90 seconds, simply by exhausting the Lakers' defense with movement and precision. This kind of offense isn't just about style. It's a weapon. And for a team that doesn't have the vertical size that others do, ball movement becomes even more critical. You're not going to pound the ball inside and dominate the post. You're going to outthink, outrun, and outwork your opponent. But even with all that movement, the size issue didn't magically go away. That problem still looms large. And that brings us to one of the biggest takeaways from this game. The Warriors' lack of size remains a real concern. Watching the Lakers' big men go to work was a reminder that, come playoff time, you need more than just effort and ball movement. DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes had their way on the glass. Every rebound was a battle, and often the Warriors were coming up short. Al Horford, for all his experience and savvy, just isn't enough when the tallest guy on the floor is 7 feet and skilled in the post. Horford still showed why he's valuable. The basketball IQ, the passing, the positioning. But he's not a dominant interior presence anymore, and it showed. Quentin Post had some nice moments as the team's only true 7-footer, but there were times when he looked overwhelmed. That's expected. He's young, and he'll grow with experience. But if the Warriors are serious about making a deep playoff run, they can't rely on one developing big man to anchor their interior defense. They need another proven presence in the paint. There have been whispers all summer about potential moves, and one name that continues to come up is Nikola Vucevic. A player like that, someone who can post up, rebound, and stretch the floor, would immediately change the dynamic of this team. But making that kind of deal isn't simple. The logical trade package would likely involve Buddy Hield, but now Moses Moody's name is entering the conversation too. And after what Moody showed in this game, there's reason to hesitate. Moody brought serious value off the bench. He looked confident, poised, and impactful on both ends. He played like someone who's aware of the rumors and ready to fight through them. That's the kind of energy you want from a young player. Trading that away, especially when he's finally showing why he was drafted, could be a risky move. So what do? You need size. You need depth in the post. But you don't want to give up rising talent just to plug one hole. That's the tricky part of roster construction in the NBA. Maybe the answer comes from the waiver wire or end-of-camp cuts. Teams like the Knicks are expected to release a few bigs, including veterans like Alex Len. There's likely to be some movement, and the Warriors need to be ready to act, because the one thing they cannot do is go into the regular season without another 7-footer who can hold his own in the paint. But despite that hole, there's something deeper happening with this Warriors group. It's that intangible dog mentality. You know it when you see it, the fight, the hunger, the refusal to coast. Think Damian Lillard. Think Kobe. Think Jordan. That's what this team is trying to channel. And you could feel that energy pulsing through the preseason opener. If they can hold on to that edge, if they can start the season hot, something like 17 wins in their first 20 games, then everything shifts. The pressure falls on the rest of the league. Because once a veteran, championship-caliber team builds momentum, it's incredibly hard to stop. Last season felt like every team was hovering around the same level. There weren't many dominant squads. Only 1 or 2 teams even sniffed 60 wins. And the so-called contenders like the Cavaliers ended up looking more like pretenders in the playoffs. So the door is open. If the Warriors can stack wins early, if they can fix the size issue, and if they keep that dog mentality alive, they're going to be a serious threat to not just compete, but to dominate once again. But for all the positives coming out of this first preseason performance, there's still many unanswered questions surrounding this Warriors roster. One game does not define a season, and it certainly doesn't cover up the roster gaps that have been lingering since last year. The energy is there, the intention is clear, but until this team fully addresses its size deficiency, it's going to be an uphill battle, especially when the games start to count. You could see it plain as day when the Warriors had to scramble every time the Lakers pounded the ball inside. It's not a matter of effort. The team is clearly locked in. It's a matter of bodies. They simply don't have enough size to consistently battle against elite frontcourts. This isn't something that can be fixed by simply trying harder. You can have all the hustle in the world, But when you're undersized and overmatched physically, that hustle can only take you so far. And that's the danger zone. Because as much as Warriors fans want to believe that heart and hustle can overcome anything, the reality of a long NBA season, especially in the West, demands balance. You need strength on the wings, speed on the perimeter, and size in the middle. Golden State has the leadership, the shooting, and the system. But the size? That's still a glaring hole. And the coaching staff knows it. You can see in the way rotations are being tested, the way the offense is designed to avoid half-court stagnation. Everything is built to compensate for that size mismatch. The rapid ball movement, the quick transition game, it's not just a stylistic choice. It's a necessity, because when you're going up against teams like Denver or Minnesota that can put multiple 7-footers on the floor, you can't just stand around and trade post possessions. You have to move. You have to run. You have to make those bigs uncomfortable. That's where the Warriors' system can shine, when it forces opposing big men to chase out to the perimeter, rotate off screens, and defend in space. But again, that's a lot to ask over the course of an entire season. What happens when the threes aren't falling? What happens when the game slows down in the playoffs, and it becomes a grinded-out battle in the half-court? Those are the moments when size matters most. And unless something changes, Golden State could find themselves once again trying to outscore their problems instead of solving them. Now, there's still time. The front office is fully aware of what's missing. And to be fair, they've already taken steps to modernize and balance out the roster. They added smart veterans, brought in guys who can stretch the floor, and focused on adding high IQ players who fit the Warriors system. But there's still one move away. One true big man away from being complete. And that decision, who to trade, who to keep, is going to define the first half of the season. Buddy Hield remains the most obvious candidate to be moved. He's on a manageable contract, he still carries value around the league, and his role on this roster isn't locked in. If Spencer keeps performing the way he did in the preseason, and Moody continues to develop the way he showed against the Lakers, there's a strong case for moving Hield to address that frontcourt need. The only complication is that Hield isn't the only piece it would take to land someone like Vucevic. That deal likely requires throwing in someone like Moody, and that's where it gets difficult. Because Moody showed something real. He looked comfortable and focused. The decision-making was crisp. He wasn't forcing shots, and he played within the offense. That's a valuable trait, especially for a team that has struggled with consistency off the bench. It's tempting to say pull the trigger on a deal, but when you have a young player who's finally starting to put it together, you have to think long-term. Are you willing to sacrifice a potential future starter to plug a short-term need? There's also the chemistry factor. The way this team is playing right now, the trust, the movement, the commitment, it's built on shared effort. Every player is trying to prove something. Even the veterans. Steph looked dialed in. Draymond was doing Draymond things. Too much shooting at times, yes, but also pushing the pace, directing traffic, bringing that emotional edge. Jimmy Butler looks like he's ready to take ownership of this team in a whole new way. And when you've got your leaders playing like that, it trickles down. Everyone feels it. Everyone responds. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The basketball world is buzzing with a rumor that could shake the very foundations of the NBA. Bam Adebayo, the versatile big man known for his defensive prowess and sleek athleticism, is reportedly on the verge of joining the Golden State Warriors. Sources close to the situation hint that the deal, if confirmed, could be the missing piece in a puzzle that has been teasing the league for years. Imagine the Warriors' already formidable lineup blending with Adebayo's relentless energy, rim protection, and playmaking ability. Golden State has long been synonymous with splashy offense, three-point barges, and championship culture, but pairing Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green with a modern, two-way powerhouse like Adebayo, that's a recipe for dynasty mode. Insiders are whispering about late-night calls, front office meetings, and subtle maneuvering behind the scenes, all aimed at bringing the Miami Heat star to the Bay Area. Speculation is rife. How would Adebayo fit alongside Draymond Green's defensive dominance? Would the Warriors adjust their signature pace and space offense to leverage Bam's post-up skills and pick-and-roll mastery? Analysts are already predicting seismic shifts in the Western Conference if the deal goes through. Some suggest the Warriors could be unstoppable on both ends of the floor, blending high-octane shooting with interior defense and rebounding prowess. Fans are losing their minds on social media. If this happens, Dynasty mode is officially on, tweeted one prominent NBA analyst. Merchandising, ticket sales, and media attention could skyrocket overnight, and rival teams may suddenly find themselves recalculating long-term strategies. Of course, nothing is official yet, but whispers from Golden State insiders suggest the front office is quietly pulling every lever possible to secure Adebayo's signature. The NBA community is holding its breath. Will this be the move that cements a new era of Warriors dominance? Or is it just another tantalizing rumor, destined to fuel endless speculation? One thing is certain. Wherever Bam Adebayo lands, the league will feel the tremors. And if the Warriors do manage to pull this off, the term Dynasty Mode will no longer be hyperbole. It will be reality. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.